Hello, friends. I hope you're out wandering through nature, exploring the natural world around you. Do you enjoy writing about your wanderings? Nature journaling is an awesome, fun way to remember all the adventures you have taken and how you felt during those journeys. If you're looking for some beautiful journals to keep track of all your wanderings, I have several available on Amazon, including some guided journals for children. Start your journey in journaling by clicking on the link in the show notes. Keep exploring the nature around you and keep journaling all your wanderings. Hello, friends, and welcome to the podcast. I'm Paul, and I am a little bit cold right now. I'm standing in the middle of a pond up to my waist in chilly water, surrounded by cattails and duckweed and lily pads, and oh, it is cold. Yeah, I'm here at Birdsong Nature Park in Orchard Park, New York. I've done an episode from here before, and I'm back today because I knew about this pond here and I just wanted to see if this was the place. What place are you talking about? Well, I'd like to thank a listener, Janine, for the suggestion about toe biters, and I'm standing here in the water trying to see if anyone's going to bite my toes so we can talk about the toe biters. Okay, I'm not really in a pond. A little bit crazy, but not that crazy. Yeah, I am sitting here next to the pond, sitting on a nice bench enjoying the beautiful weather we're having today. It's nice and warm today, and there is a large pond in front of me. I wouldn't be able to get in it probably anyhow because it's just surrounded by cattails. You can barely even see the pond. Luckily, I'm on a small ridge on the bench here, and I can actually see that there is a pond there. Yeah, it is all green. You don't see much water because there's lots of cattails surrounding it, first of all, but you also have duckweed in there, which is that floating green stuff. Each little duckweed is its own plant. If you ever pull up duckweed, it's kind of neat. You have these roots coming down from each petal, each leaf, I should say, sorry. And there's also a lot of lily pads in this pond. So yeah, it's a lot of green pond. But anyhow, what do you mean toe biters? Well, I actually was wondering myself. I've heard of ankle biters. Yeah, that's what you usually call the little kids who are always underfoot, or maybe little dogs, ankle biter dogs. And anyhow, no, Janine asked me if I would do an episode on giant water bugs, but she called them toe biters. And I'm like, okay, you piqued my interest. I've never heard of toe biters. So I did a little research and I found out that, well, the toe biter is actually a giant water bug. Yeah, so the giant water bug is a pretty interesting critter. I have known about them. I used to, many years ago, I used to call them the giant water beetle, but their official name for the group, the family, is the giant water bug. Okay, so anyhow, I remember when I was a naturalist for the Buffalo Audubon Society many years ago, and we used to do pond studies with the kids, and we'd go down to this really murky pond. I mean, you didn't have a lot of cattails, so you couldn't get to the water. And we used to take a net, had a bunch of nets, each kid would have a net, and they'd go dipping into the water, and I'd always tell them, make sure you get down in all the muck at the bottom. I mean, we were down at the edge of the pond, so it wasn't really deep. It was rather shallow. And the pond we were at, I don't think it was more than maybe 4 feet deep anyhow. I think it may have even been shallower. But anyhow, we're standing at the edge of the pond, me and a group of kids, and they're all dipping in the water, and they'd go through the net. It was funny because some of the kids, they did wonderful. They're sitting there, and after I showed them what to do and showed them there's nothing to be afraid of in here, you know, they're just dipping their hands right in the muck and pushing the decaying leaves aside, trying to find anything moving. And then they'd take that and they'd put it into a little clear water bucket that I had. Still pond water. I didn't want to hurt the poor critters, but still pond water, but it was nice and clear. And then after, our allotted time there, we would go to this big clear water bucket, and we would look at all the critters that they had found. And every once in a while, somebody would come up with one of these giant water bugs. Now, the giant water bug it kind of got its name, or I should say it got its nickname, the toe biter, because they can bite. I've never been bitten by one. From what I understand, it's not real common, but I do remember one of these kids at Buffalo Audubon when I was doing the program, and they're all worried. It's like, oh, but they're going to bite. You get this group of kids, and the funny thing is, I always found it seemed to be the girls who were really like gung-ho and digging into all this muck, and the boys are just like, ew, that's gross. Not always, but I did find a lot of times that's the way it was. And anyhow, one of the kids was standing in the water, and he's digging stuff out, and he suddenly screamed. I'm like, uh-oh, do we have crocodiles here? No, we're up in the Northeast, no crocodiles. But I kind of thought, well, one of the beetles must have, or bugs must have bitten him, but I didn't know which one. And that's when I learned that the giant water bug, they do bite, and they pack quite a wallop in their bite as well. So that's where they got the nickname, the toe biter. So the toe biter, they are actually in the class. We'll go through some classification here. I always like to get a little bit of the scientific aspect of all this in my episodes, but the class is Insecta. Okay, so your insects. Order is Hemiptera, which are the true bugs, and the family is Belostomatidae. In the group of critters that we call the toe biters, or the giant water bugs, there's approximately about 160 different species. Now that's in the world, not just in our neck of the woods in the United States or in New York or northeastern Europe. No, that's in the world. There's about 160 different species, and they range in size and looks. They're generally about the same. They're mostly brown, kind of an oval shape, and rather flat. So they're not a really thick bug. Instead, they're more flat. Now, the giant water bug is the largest insect in the order Hemiptera. They can get up to be 4+ inches long. 4 inches. 4 inches? Wow, that's a big bug. Can you imagine some 4-inch bug and he's swimming through the water towards you? And well, usually they don't do that. No, usually they're hiding in the grasses or in the reeds and the weeds and so they're hiding there waiting for their prey to come by. They're not attacking you, so don't worry about that. But that's still pretty big, which is why they call them the giant water bug. The most common of the giant water bugs, remember I said there's like 160 species in the world. Well, the most common in the U.S. is, and here we go with Latin, I know I've been practicing, so Lethoceras americanus. So Lethoceras americanus is the most common, and in the U.S., and they get to be anywhere from 2 to 3 inches long. Now they're all oval shaped and they are flat, but brown in color. They kind of look like a leaf. So if you see one in the water, you might mistake it for a leaf. And I always used to tell the kids when we were doing pond studies that if they're digging and they say, oh, there's nothing in here, and they dump it back out into the water. I always made sure they got it back in the water. I says, well, you weren't looking close enough, because I'll guarantee there was something in there. And usually what I'll do is I will go and start digging through all the leaf litter and all. It's like, yep, there's a water scorpion, you mistook it for a stick, there's a giant water bug, you mistook it for a leaf. Yeah, so that's part of their camouflage, is looking like a leaf. They have 6 legs. Remember, they're an insect. Insects have 6 legs, 3 body parts. The front pair are actually claw-like. They are claw-like so they can grab their prey. So these are a coniferous bug. They are eating other insects and other things too. I'll get to that in a minute. But the front legs, yeah, they're claw-like so that they can actually catch their prey. Now, the back legs, they're flat. Why do you think that is? Hey, remember, they're in the water. So if you have round legs, it's kind of hard to swim through the water. You ever go swimming in the ocean or even in a pool and you have flippers on and they make your feet wider, bigger, flatter? It helps you push you through the water. Well, with the giant water bug, their back legs are flat for the same reason. It helps them to swim through the water. They're actually pretty quick when they're in the water. So they do have wings. They can fly. They usually only fly at nighttime. They can fly during the day. They do spend a lot of time in the pond, in the water. But if they're going from one place to another, maybe they're looking for a new pond, a new water body. And then they will come out of the water, spread their wings, and they will fly to that other water body. And they do it at nighttime. Now, they actually get another nickname because of what they do, this flying at nighttime. Some people have called them the electric light bug. And the reason that they call them that is because they're attracted to lights, porch lights. Maybe a light on the dock of the pond. So if you are out at nighttime, you see these large, flat, oval bugs flying around the porch light, yeah, that's the electric light bug. Another name for the giant water bug. Yeah, they're mostly found in freshwater streams, ponds. Sometimes, because of this night flying, they misnavigate or they just see this body of water and they'll end up in your swimming pool. They usually don't last long if they stay in the swimming pool for too long, and that's because of the chlorine in the swimming pool. But I have seen some old abandoned swimming pools before where the people didn't take care of them and they just kind of left them up and didn't, clean them out, didn't use them, and they just filled up with water, and you look at it, it's all murky, icky water in there. Well, to us it's murky and icky. To the giant water bug and other water beetles and other insects that like that sort of water, hey, that's a paradise for them. So yeah, these water beetles, because they're flying at night, sometimes they'll end up in your pool. So if you see one of these big beetles, be careful when you're trying to get it out of your pool. Remember, they can bite. They also, as another part of their defense, besides the camouflage and the biting, they will squirt this bad-smelling fluid when they're threatened. So it just squirts out of their backside, and it smells so bad. Most predators will just be like, whoa, yeah, something is not good here. I'm not sticking around. And they leave. Yeah, so that's one of the things. Another way that they will deter predators is they'll actually feign death. So they play dead. They pretend that they're not alive, especially when someone takes them out of the water, which is why those kids at Beaver Meadow, when I was teaching about pond study, they often missed the giant water beetle because they weren't moving. They were playing dead. So they'll actually play dead for a couple of minutes, and then all of a sudden, yep, they wake up and they will go back into the water. They might try biting you if they're in your hands. So, and speaking of the bite, I mean, that's where they get the name toe biters from. They do pack a wallop. But it's very rare that they bite. Usually they will only bite your toes if you accidentally step on one or if you disturb them. So don't think that just going into a pond, they're gonna, start attacking you and biting you. No. But if they do, and once again, I've never been bitten by one, but I have heard people like that little kid who got bit by one. But I also knew a couple of other adults who have been bitten by them. It's so powerful, so powerful, that bite, that it can cause numbness for up to 5 hours. There's no lasting effects. There is a venom in the bite, but it's a non-toxic venom. Okay, it just causes the numbness. It won't hurt you. It's not going to kill you. I shouldn't say it won't hurt you. Trust me, it hurts. At least that's what everyone tells me. It really does hurt. So yeah, they do pack a wallop, but no lasting effects of it. Now, according to WebMD, I did a little research on there. On rare occasions, there are allergic reactions to it, which can cause difficulty breathing, hives, and itching. So if you do get bitten and you notice that, you're getting a reaction around it, a pretty serious reaction, and of course anything bites you, an insect, you're going to get a lump there, maybe a little redness around it. But if it's a lot of redness, if it swells to be a big spot, maybe the lump keeps getting bigger, or if you have trouble breathing, you're having an allergic reaction to the venom. And seek medical attention immediately. Okay, now the giant water beetles is really kind of neat. They, like I said, they can come out of the water, they can fly, they breathe air. So they're not like a fish who has gills under the water. Instead, they have this straw-like tube in the backside of the abdomen. And they need to come up for air every once in a while. So they'll come up for air, up to the surface, this tube, they hang their backside out of the water, and they suck in some air, and then they will go back down under the water. Now this air is actually pulled down in the water under their wings as well. And there's these air sacs underneath the wings that they will actually pull it in. The air enters the insect's body through these tiny holes under the wings and throughout the rest of the body there. And these holes are called spiracles. They're mostly in the abdomen. Okay, so that's how they can breathe, and then they're basically holding their breath underwater. When they run out of air, then they have to come back up again. But they have this air kind of stored underneath their wings, and they'll suck it into their body through these spiracles in the abdomen. Now, when they're in the water, like I said, they won't attack you. Okay, they're waiting for prey. Usually they're down in the dirt, they're hanging on to a plant at the edge of the water, of the pond, hanging on to the roots of a plant, and they just wait. They look like a leaf, they're well camouflaged, so a fish will swim by, another insect will swim by, and that's when they dart out after it. And like I said, flat back feet gives them those paddles that they can move rather quickly after the prey. They'll grab it with all 6 legs. The front legs are the most strong of the 6, and those 2 front legs, like I said, often mistaken for pinchers, but they're not, they are legs. They will hang on tight, and then the bug will bite their prey. Yeah, it bites it to kill it. They inject a venom using a proboscis. A proboscis is that tube. It's like a straw. Insects like butterflies have a proboscis, and that's how they suck the nectar out of the flower. But the giant water bug, they have a proboscis too, and they use this to bite the insect or whatever their prey is. They inject this venom into their prey using the proboscis. Now, the venom actually contains cell-destroying toxins and enzymes. Now, the enzyme makeup is different from the smaller species to the larger species. Researchers believe this is due to the differences in prey. So a large species of the giant water bug they're not taking, huge things, but they're taking large prey, and the smaller ones cannot take that large prey. They're just not strong enough. So the enzyme makeup is different in the larger ones from the smaller ones. At least that's what researchers have found. And this enzymes, it breaks down the proteins. Basically what it's doing is it's turning the insides of the prey into fluid, into mush, so that they can drink it. Yeah, so they don't have teeth, mouth parts. Seems like they do when they bite you, but no. So what they're doing is they're actually injecting this venom, turning the insides of their prey into liquids that they can drink it. And I can't stress enough, it is not toxic to humans. So the venom is harmless to people. The bite isn't. The bite hurts like a son of a gun, but yeah, it's harmless to people, the venom. What are they eating then? If they're not eating toes, and they're just biting the toe, they're just annoyed with you because you stepped on them. They're after mostly fish, sometimes amphibians, sometimes snakes, small water snakes. They will go after a small turtle as well. And I have read accounts where some of the larger species, they will actually go after young waterfowl. I don't know, it's not very common, but yeah, I have heard where they will go after these small ducks or geese. Let's talk about reproduction. Okay, so they mate in spring and early summer. The females lay about 100 plus eggs. That's a lot of eggs that they're laying. Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because sometimes they lay the eggs and there's kind of a glue that will attach them to a leaf, a plant, and then they just leave. Let the eggs hatch and the young are pretty much self-sufficient from day one. Other times, some species, they actually will lay the eggs on top of the male, and the male is the one who carries them around. He's the protector. Even in the species where they lay them on plants, leaves, roots, those eggs are often checked on by the males. So males are very good parents in this whole situation. So they actually will stick around, defend the eggs from predators, otherwise you won't get any eggs hatching. But I just thought it was kind of, if you look online, look for a picture of a giant water beetle with eggs. Just do a search for that, and you're going to see pictures of a male with all these egg pockets sitting on his back. It's kind of weird looking, kind of neat. Males, they won't mate until the babies are hatched. So remember, they carry the eggs around on their back. After those eggs are hatched, then they will mate again. The females will mate again after laying the eggs. So once the females have laid the eggs, they're pretty much done. Let the male take care of them, and she goes on. Now, it only takes about 1 to 2 weeks for the eggs to hatch. Once they hatch, they are basically nymphs that look just like many adults. So they look just like the adults, that oval shape, flat, brown, just like a lot smaller. Now, they have 5 instars, and I've mentioned that word before. Basically, an instar is a growth stage. So over a 2-month period, they go through 5 of these instars, growth changes, where they still look like many adults, but they're getting larger. They change a little bit, and after those 2 months of instars, they're adults. So it doesn't take long for them to reach adulthood. Now, they overwinter in the mud on the bottom of the ponds or streams. So that muddy base in the bottom of the pond, a lot of animals like turtles, they also hide under there. They hibernate in that mud, and that's what the giant water beetle does as well. They're not running around, I should say swimming around, freezing in the icy cold water in the middle of winter. No, instead they go down and they hibernate down at the bottom of the pond in the mud. They're What preys on them? Well, snakes will. Remember I said small snakes are eaten by them? But hey, snakes can turn and they can eat the giant water beetles as well. Birds will do the same. Larger fish will as well. So that's the main prey of the giant water beetle. Now, I always like to let you know a species what the conservation status is. And the conservation of the giant water beetle is, well, there are some that are threatened or endangered across the world, but it's only a few species. Most of them are doing all right, but the numbers are dropping. And the reason is mostly because of water pollution and pesticide and herbicide runoff. So habitat loss as well. I mean, with climate change, ponds are drying up. They've got no place to go. That's why you're finding them in your pools. That's the conservation of them. They're doing all right, but there are some species that are not. So there are a few species, like I said, that are either threatened or endangered across the world. And the best thing to do to keep them from disappearing, you're probably thinking, why would I want them around? They bite my toes. Well, the best thing you can do, because they're part of nature, they're part of the ecosystem, they're part of the web of life, best thing you can do is don't pollute. Yeah, don't pollute ponds, don't pollute pools. I go hiking all the time and I see trash next to a pond in the water. Plastics. Oh, get rid of those single-use plastics. Don't use anything that contains plastic beads. All of that gets into the waterways and it's polluting the waterways and it's harming all the insects, not just the giant water beetles. So next time you head out to a pond, don't be afraid to go in the pond. You know, there are critters in there. My wife hates going in ponds because of the fish. Yeah, they go up to her and they nudge her. Hey, that's our own fault. We used to feed the fish in our pond, but we don't have a pond anymore at our new place. So that's why I come to these places like Birdsong Park where there's ponds and I can enjoy watching all the wildlife around the pond. But don't be afraid to go in a pond if you are able to and see what animals are in there. But beware, you might get bitten by the giant water bug, also known as the toe biter. Well, I'd like to thank you for listening. Don't forget to share this with your friends. That's the best way you can support the podcast. But if you want to support me in other ways, go to my Ko-Fi page. The link's in the show notes. You can also buy a nature journal, buy some Nature Wanderer merchandise. All of these things help to support the podcast so we can get new equipment and do a much more high quality job. I try to do a high quality job as it is, but yeah, I want to do better for you. So I'd like to thank you again for listening, and don't forget, keep exploring the nature around you. Have a great day, everybody.
Did you know that plastic is made with oil, a fossil fuel that pollutes the environment? And did you know that only about 15% of all plastic is recycled into new products? Wouldn't it be awesome if we could live our lives without plastic so that we could stop harming the planet? Well, there's a company that wants to help you do just that. Life Without Plastic sells products that will reduce or eliminate your dependence on plastic. They have a large selection from toothbrushes to food storage containers to drinking straws, all plastic free. And it's reasonably priced. So what are you waiting for? Check out all these great plastic-free products and help save the planet. Just click on the link in the show notes to find out more and to start your journey to being plastic-free.